All right, today we're jumping into something that I think we can all agree is, well, complicated. We're going to decode the world of our love lives, and we're using the incredible insights from the book Attached to explore the science of adult attachment. By the end of this, you'll have a much clearer picture of why you love the way you do. So let's start with a big question. Why do relationships feel so incredibly confusing sometimes? You know that feeling? You're in it, the emotions are running high, but it feels like you're just running in circles, hitting the same walls over and over again. It can be so frustrating. And if you've ever felt that way, trust me, you are definitely not alone. Wow. Does that hit home for anyone? That right there, that's the voice of self-sabotage. It's this deep, gnawing fear that you're just not good enough. And that fear becomes so powerful, so overwhelming, that you end up doing the very thing you're terrified of and pushing someone away. It's a brutal cycle. Okay, or maybe this is more your speed. This is the other side of the coin, right? The feeling of having so much to give, you decrete people, but then, poof, the interest is gone. And that closeness starts to feel, well, it feels like a cage. The nearer someone gets, the more you feel this primal urge to just run. So you've got these two very different, very painful experiences. But here's the absolute game changer, the core idea we're going to unpack. None of this is random. These confusing, often painful feelings, they are not just happening to you. They're part of a predictable system, a biological program that's been quietly running in the background your entire life. So what is this system? Well, the best way to think about it is like your own personal attachment operating system. Yeah, like the OS on your phone or computer. It's the underlining code that pretty much dictates how you connect with the people you care about the most. And this whole idea comes from something called adult attachment theory. The basic gist is this. Our deep-seated need to form a close bond with another person isn't just, a nice feeling. It's a hardwired evolutionary survival mechanism. Think about it. As babies, staying close to a caregiver literally kept us alive. And guess what? That same system doesn't just switch off when we grow up. It gets repurposed for our romantic relationships. Now, this idea completely flips a huge cultural myth on its head. We're always told that being dependent is a bad thing, that it's weak. But what attachment science shows us is that the exact opposite is true. Having someone you can truly depend on doesn't make you needy. It creates what's called a secure base. It's a launch pad that gives you the confidence to go out and conquer the world. So, healthy dependency, it's actually a strength. Okay, so how does this operating system actually show up in real life? Well, the theory breaks it down into 3 main attachment styles. And honestly, figuring out which one you lean towards is the first, most crucial step to finally decoding your own relationship patterns. So, first up, we have the anxious style. Someone with an anxious attachment style really deeply craves closeness and intimacy. But there's a constant worry humming in the background. Does my partner love me as much as I love them? They are incredibly tuned into their partner's moods and actions, almost like they have a super sensitive radar for any potential threat to the relationship. And this quote, man, it just perfectly sums up the inner world of someone with an anxious style. Their emotional well-being is completely tethered to how the relationship is doing. When things are good, they are on top of the world. But the second they feel a little distance or uncertainty, that internal alarm system starts blaring. Next, we have the polar opposite, the avoidant style. These folks put a huge premium on independence and self-sufficiency. So for them, intimacy doesn't feel cozy. It can actually feel like a threat to their freedom. To manage this, they use what the book calls deactivating strategies. Things like focusing on their partner's small flaws, or daydreaming about an ideal ex, or just keeping busy. Anything to keep true, deep intimacy at a safe distance. And here we are, back to that classic voice of the avoidant style. It's this internal conflict, a genuine desire for connection, gets totally short-circuited by this overwhelming fear of being swallowed up, of losing themselves. The second things start to get real, bam, the internal escape hatch gets pulled. And finally, we have the secure style. These are the folks who are basically the gold standard for relationships. They're comfortable with intimacy, but they're also cool with independence. They can talk about their feelings without a big drama. They handle conflict like pros, and they're just reliable, loving, and consistent. They're kind of the relationship role models we all strive to be. So how common are these different styles? Well, the research is pretty fascinating. A little over half the population falls into the secure category, which sounds great, right? But that means almost half the people out there in the dating world are either anxious, that's about 20%, or avoidant, which is about 25%. And that right there, that explains why these mismatched, challenging pairings are so incredibly common. And that brings us to what might be the most common and definitely the most volatile pairing of them all. It's a dynamic the authors call the anxious-avoidant trap. It creates this incredibly painful yet predictable push-pull cycle. So, step 1, the anxious partner needing reassurance moves closer. Step 2, the avoidant partner feels suffocated by this and pulls away to create space. Step 3, that withdrawal is like gasoline on the fire for the anxious partner's fears. It confirms everything they were worried about. So step 4, they pursue even harder, and the whole cycle just spins out of control. Okay, let's make this super concrete with an example from the book. You've got a couple arguing about buying a washing machine. For him, the anxious partner, buying it together is a symbol of closeness, of building a real home. But for her, the avoidant partner, it feels like a chain, a loss of independence. You see, the fight was never, ever about the washing machine. It was a proxy war over intimacy itself. And the result of this trap is a state that the authors perfectly describe as stable instability. I love that phrase. It means the pattern is stable, you know exactly what's going to happen, but the experience is totally unstable. It's a constant emotional roller coaster. You get these intense highs of making up, followed by these crushing lows of the next withdrawal, leaving both people feeling permanently unsatisfied. Okay, I know that last part can sound a bit bleak, but here's the good news. And it's really good news. The best thing about attachment science is that it doesn't just diagnose the problem, it gives you a roadmap out. So let's talk about the path to becoming more secure. This leads us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? Are you just stuck? Are you doomed to repeat these same painful patterns for the rest of your life with the attachment style you have right now? And the answer, thankfully, is a huge, resounding no. The book puts it beautifully. Attachment styles are stable, but plastic. Okay, what does that mean? Stable means they don't just change on a whim. They're deeply ingrained. But plastic, like modeling clay, means they are malleable, that can be reshaped. With conscious effort, you can actually change your style and develop what's called earned security. So how do you actually do it? How do you get there? Well, it starts with a few key principles. First, and this is huge, you have to recognize that your needs for connection and intimacy are 100% valid, period. Then, it's about learning to communicate those needs directly, clearly, and without blame. It's about being honest and choosing partners based on whether they can actually show up for you. And you know, a huge shortcut is to find a secure partner who can show you the ropes and help you feel safe. Look, understanding your attachment style is like being handed the source code to your own love life. For the first time, you can actually see the programming that's been running the show. You can debug the system. You can understand your partner's operating system better. And most importantly, you can start to write a new, more secure story for yourself. So the real question isn't whether you can change. It's now that you have the code, how are you going to rewrite your story?